Das Wort hat jetzt für die Fraktion der EFD Herr Farage.
Well, Mr Barroso, not just you, but the entire unelected government of Europe had a chance perhaps for our citizens to reflect on where the real power lies in this union. I've listened to you for nearly 10 years. Full marks for consistency. You know, you're a man that likes fixed ideology. You probably picked it up when you were a communist or Maoist or whatever you were. And for the last 10 years you've pursued Euro-federalism combined with an increasing green obsession. And yeah, it's been good. For bureaucrats, for big businessmen, for landowners, it's not been a bad decade. But it's been a disaster for poor people, unemployed people and those on low wages. The euro, which you believed would give us monetary stability, has done the very opposite. It was a misconstruction from the start, and it's pretty clear that youth unemployment at nearly 50% across the Mediterranean is probably nearly double what it would have been as a direct result of the misconstruction that is the euro. They're in the wrong currency, but I know that you'll never ever admit to that, and the euro, I think, will die a very slow and painful death. But you're all in denial about that. But it's the green agenda that I find really more interesting. You keep telling us that climate change is an absolute top priority, and you've been greeted with almost hysteria in this place over the last 10 years. Well, those of us that have been sceptical about this have been mocked, derided, called deniers. We've argued from the start that the science wasn't settled, and we've argued very strongly that the measures we're taking to combat what may or may not be a problem are damaging our citizens, and we've been proved to be right. Tens of millions forced into fuel poverty, manufacturing industry being driven away because, of course, our competitors in China and in America are going for cheap fossil alternatives, and, of course, wind turbines blighting the landscapes and seascapes of Europe. And still today you go on about green growth. Well, the consensus is breaking behind you. You know, Commissioner Tajani the other day said that actually we face a systematic industrial massacre. It is time to stop this stupidity and to help you. There's the NASA photograph last August of the ice cap, the northern ice caps. And there is the NASA photograph this year of the ice caps. It is increased by 60% in 1 year. Leading American scientists are now saying we are going into a period of between 15 and 30 years of global cooling. We may have made one of the biggest, stupidest collective mistakes in history by getting so worried about global warming. You can reverse this in the next 7 or 8 months. You can bring down people's taxes. If you don't, they'll vote on it in the European elections of next year.
So, erwartungsgemäß habe ich wieder jede Menge Blue Card Anfragen hier, aber Kolleginnen und Kollegen, klar, ne? Ich kann das auch hier wieder nur nach Eingang. Wer sich zuerst gemeldet hat, kommt zuerst dran. Frau Jaakonsaari, ich weiß aber, das war der Herr Leichtfried. Tut mir leid. Da müssen Sie heute Abend fraktionsintern sich streiten. Oder Herr Leichtfried, Sie treten für Frau Jaakonsaari zurück. Gentlemen? Ja? Ja, Sie möchten. Bitte, Herr Leichtfried. Ich habe alles versucht, Lisa. Ich kann es nicht. Tut mir leid. Bitte.
Vielen Dank, Herr Präsident. Herr Farage, Sie sind ja manchmal recht witzig, aber immer seltener. Und Sie sitzen da erste Reihe fußfrei und erzählen uns jetzt alle, was wir besser machen sollen. Und was der Herr Barroso besser machen soll, alle anderen auch besser machen sollen. Aber was haben Sie in dieser Zeit gemacht, seitdem Sie im Europäischen Parlament sind? Sie haben keinen einzigen Bericht eingebracht. Sie waren nie Schattenberichterstatter. Sie haben nie eine Opinion gemacht. Das Einzige, was Sie immer gemacht haben, ist herumzuquatschen. Und Sie werfen den anderen vor, dass nichts geschieht. Wie kommen Sie da überhaupt dazu, Herr Farage? Wie können Sie das vor Ihren Wählerinnen und Wählern rechtfertigen, hier noch nie gearbeitet zu haben?
Oh no, I'm sorry, old son. I haven't accused you of not working. Far from that. I've accused you of doing far too much. And actually, collectively in this House, forming a consensus, and I'm going to come back to this green agenda. You all formed the view that carbon dioxide emissions were leading to rapid global warming and that it was the greatest crisis that's ever faced mankind, and therefore we had to start taxing carbon. There has been no global warming, sir, for 20 years. The ice caps have grown significantly over the last 12 months, and I'm making a positive proposal that would put back into work tens of thousands of people, and I'm saying let us scrap these climate levies and let's see where the science goes over the course of the next few years. I can't think of a more positive thing that's been said in this House this morning.
So.
Mr. Farage shows that populists are sometimes obscurantists. 99% of the science, Mr. Farage, believes that this climate change exists as a result of human activity. 99% of scientists. Of course, there are always people that are paid to say the opposite. But to pretend, as you pretend, that against all science, well-established science, that the problem of climate change is just an invention of the Greens or of the left, it's completely nonsense. Of course we have to find a way. Of course we have to find a sensible way to fight climate change. We have to look at the same time for competitiveness in Europe. We have to make this part of our agenda for growth, and I believe that the green economy brings many possibilities.
Das Wort hat jetzt zunächst für die EFD-Fraktion Herr Farage.
Thank you. Well, next year's European elections will not be contested on the old division lines of left and right, and several group leaders have agreed with that today. Frankly, that's all irrelevant. It will be contested between those of us that believe in national democracy within the nation state and those that believe that the 28 countries that are part of the EU are better governed by these institutions. That, in a sense, is what this comes down to. But, Mr. Barroso, those of us that believe in national democracy do not want to take us back to the Western Front or 1914. Those of us that believe in national democracy will say to you it is a healthy assertion of identity, but it also shows a deeper understanding of why the problems of Europe were caused in the past. It is democratic nation states in Europe that are stable, that will not go to war with each other, and I'd remind people, without the vote in the House of Commons 2 weeks ago, we would now be at war in Syria. What better proof can there be that nation-state democracy can be a force for good?